Akali is probably one of the coolest assassins in the game. Is she good though? No, not really currently. Is she fun and flashy? Yes. And is she hard to play? No, not really. It just looks like it really. And today I will try to also help you to look cool and impress your friends. But before I start talking about all the cool abilities and combos Akali has, I would like to do a brief overview. First, I would like to talk about the abilities and all the mechanics that come with it. And after that, I would like to go over the runes you can go with Akali and how to adapt them according to your enemy team. As the last thing, I would like to talk about her build and how flexible Akali can be with her build order and with all the item choices she has, and what items you should go depending on the champion or the situation you and your team are in. So first, let's talk about Akali's passive ability. If you hit an enemy champion with one of your abilities, you will get a circle around him, and what some people might not know is when you walk away from the center of the circle, you will get extra movement speed, and if you exit the center and move towards the target, then you will again get another burst of movement speed. And after exiting the circle, you will get a strong auto attack for 4 seconds, which has double Akali's default auto attack range, and it has more damage on it. Your passive is especially important if you have longer trades against champions you can't one-shot. For example, almost every matchup on top lane is like that, where you try to use your passive as often as possible just to get the most damage out of Akali's kit. So try to use your passive auto attack on the lane. It's sometimes easier than you think because your enemy laner doesn't really know that Akali gets double the auto attack range. So if you get your passive up, try to hit your enemy target, and if not, just go for a minion. Akali is gonna skill QWE in the first 3 levels, and the reason behind that is pretty simple, because Akali's energy is increased by 100 if you use your W, and this gives you movement speed and Akali becomes invisible. So you can really combine it with your passive and your Q ability. So let's act like this is a more beefy guy. On level 1, you would just Q him and try to get your passives off, as I said before, but as you can see, you don't really have enough energy to do it more than twice. So that's why you're gonna skill W on level 2. Let me level up here. That's why you go W on level 2. If I harass my enemy laner, I could go for 2 Qs, use my passive, and then use my W and keep harassing him. I don't even... Why do I have Dark Harvest loot? You don't even have to use it as aggressive as I did. You could just do it from afar, like poking him with your passive. In best case, obviously, best case you would hit him with that. And then I can use my W back here and just harass him while he's trying to farm. And it also helps you to disengage. So if a jungler would pull up now from here, and I'm like trying to farm, I could just use my W and maybe use a Q to slow him and then disengage safely under tower. Another cool thing about Akali's Q is that the edges of the ability, or of that cone in front of me, have a bigger range than the center of it. So if I Q like that, I won't get my passive. But if I Q with one of the edges, doesn't matter if I go to the left or to the right, I will hit him and I will instantly get my passive without even moving. So if I do it like that, I get my passive and I can use the movement speed to use the passive. One more thing I mentioned briefly like a few seconds ago is that the tip of Akali's Q slows the enemy by 50%. Yeah, for like 0.5 seconds. So you can see what area will slow him. So if I hit him like that, he will be slowed for like 50%. For example, if my jungler pulls up, I can try to use the Q ability with the tip to slow him so he can engage better. Now to Akali's E ability and probably most versatile ability, it's where she throws this shuriken and can recast it to dash towards it. It's probably the best damage you can get if you want to one-shot a squishy, especially the second cast from the E ability does a heck ton of damage. But the ability is actually way more than just doing a lot of burst damage. The E is also a nice disengage tool, and not just because you dash a little distance when you use it, but because you can like dash through walls like this, and even through walls that you think you can't even dash through, you can dash through, for example this one. So it's a pretty powerful disengaging... Oops. So it's a pretty powerful disengaging tool. It's like with Riven's wall hop, you have to just get to know the walls you can jump through. I think you can even dash through this here. Don't detect me please if I missed it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do this. That's not the only way you can disengage with this tool. A thing that a lot of people forget is jungle camps, which is really important actually. So let's act like I'm a Akali on mid lane and I'm low life because I lost a trade and I'm running away from the enemy mid lane and he's chasing me and wants to kill me. I can just walk towards the Crux, E them, and E again, just to get over the wall and do a big distance between me and him and be safe and go base at my tower if the Crux doesn't cancel your backboard. Another example would be here. If I disengage towards here, for whatever reason, I could E the wolves or E the blue buff and then disengage towards this side of the map. So keep that in mind if you're trying to escape a fight, because it comes in handy more often than you think it will. Another thing with the E is that it sticks in your W, as most of you probably know, and you can recast it to dash towards it. Sometimes it also works as a disengage. It's a bit more tricky and it doesn't work as often as the jungle camp one. For example, if I'm here and I'm getting chased by some enemies for whatever reason again, I can W here, E above the wall, and if someone flashes behind me, you can just use E again. And now he's on this side of the map and you're on this side again. So this trick also saved my life a few times, so I thought I'll teach it to you also. Another thing where you can use the E dash ability is if you try to bait the ability. I will try to find a clip on the internet to show it to you. Oh, now he got me. You want the fight? There you have it. If this would be a Yone, for example, and he has his Q up while he dashes towards you, you could walk towards him to bait it out, and right before he throws it, you can use your E. So he will miss his knock up and you will hit your E, and then you can engage the fight. Because now his knock up is on cooldown, and you got a free E hit. It's a win-win for me. I get a free E hit, and she's on cooldown on one of her abilities. Another thing I think I should mention is that the E has no max range, so if I E this dummy there and flash away twice, I can recast E again. First, it sounds like it's not really useful, but it actually is sometimes useful. That, for example, if I'm laning on top lane and my enemy has TP and a fight breaks out on bot lane and my enemy top lane has TP towards the fight, I can E my enemy right before his TP goes through, and then E again when he teleported to bot lane. So I will fly across the whole map with my E because he's marked and I recast it, and I will also join the fight on bot lane. You can also use your E with Zhonya's, so if I E and activate Zhonya's, I still do damage and get the passive auto attack, which is a niche but still important mechanic, because if we both are low life and I E away and I hit him and he knows I can't engage because he will kill me with a skill shot, I can just do this. The last thing I want to mention about the E is that you can hit the E actually 10 out of 10 times if you use your R before that, your first R instance. So if I R him and press E, I'm gonna hit him and I will not end up behind him. The combo is pretty easy. You just use your first R instance from far away and then instantly press E while flying towards him, and you will hit your E and still end up in front of him and not behind him. For example, if I do it from too close and he's inside the circle already from my first R, I can press E, but she will miss it and throw it behind it. But I think you can still do it, but you have to E the other way around. So if I ult him from here, I have to E towards this way. There's still like a second or so for him to react, but in most cases it also goes through. The best case obviously is if you hit it on the edge of the circle and start the fight with this nice combo. So now let's talk about the W a bit more. As we all know, and as I mentioned before, I think, is that the W gives you movement speed and energy. If I get my W, I can refill my energy again and keep the trade going way longer. So W is a pretty good tool to keep your Q passive combo going. Another small tip I want to give you about the W is that imagine I'm fighting this dude and I just eat him and I'm gonna re-engage. If you use your W, try to sidestep to the left or to the right, because in most cases your enemy will use a skill when you dash towards him with your E. So if I E him, I E again and I instantly press W and walk to the side just to dodge a skill shot that he could throw. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that uses W to get the movement speed to be on lane faster. So if the enemy pushes the wave and I'm scared of losing a cannon wave, I use the W to get faster back on lane and catch the wave. You can also use your E to get close and your W. I also do that sometimes. But if you're walking towards lane and you see a fight is going to happen at Drake, so you think to yourself, fuck the lane, I'm just going to go help my team at Drake. Don't use your W and E to be there faster. Because when I join the fight now, in Dragon Pit for example, with this cone here, I won't have any abilities up to fight anyone. I can ult and Q, but I'm gonna run out of energy pretty quick with just using my Q. I can do it twice and then I'm out. And I don't have any survivability, or I don't have any burst damage with my E. I can't even dodge anything with my E. So try to keep your W and E up if you think a team fight's gonna break out. And don't throw it out lightly, because the W especially has a really long cooldown of 20 seconds at level 1. And even in the later levels, it's still 16 seconds, which is pretty long for an ability. The last thing I want to show you about the W, which is a pretty cool thing and important thing, is zoning your enemy. For example, if I'm pushing the wave now and I have lane priority, I could just walk up to my enemy and W in front of him and don't let him farm. If he comes too close, I can just Q him and use my passive to farm. And again, if he comes too close, I can just Q him again. If he's on a tower and trying to farm, and let's act like he's the mini champion, I could just W in front of him, and if he comes too close to farm, I could just Q him and try to bully him while he's trying to farm. It obviously also works the other way around. So if I would have a minion wave right here and the enemy would try to auto-attack me while I try to farm, I could just use my W and try to hit him and the minions at the same time. So try to use your W not only in an aggressive way for like getting extra energy to make more damage or finish your combo, also use it to zone the enemy away or get you some free farm with it. Now I'm going to talk about the R ability. The first thing I want to mention is the passive way of using your ultimate, because I know it does a lot of damage, but there are also some really good passive ways to use your ability to escape a fight. So the first one would be if I'm on mid lane, like trading with my enemy laner, and his jungler pulls up and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna die. Then I could instantly ult this guy, use my W, wait in the shroud until his jungler walks near me, and then just ult through him towards my tower. That's like an easy way to get out of a fight that you really don't want to take. Now you might say, well, but I lost my R ability for like nothing. But it's way better to lose your ultimate than to lose 2 waves. They caught you, they killed you, they pushed the wave. You lost 2 waves on a tower, and maybe they got a plate or 2. And even worse, the jungler did Herald before he pulled up on mid lane, and they literally just destroyed your tower because you didn't want to waste your R ability to disengage a fight. The next scenario is the same situation, but I'm a little bit ahead, because I whooped the ass of my enemy mid laner, so he's 0 and 2. I'm 2 and 0. This guy is 4 and 0, so I can't 2v1 them because the jungler is gonna clap my butt cheeks. So there's either the way that I showed you before, where you could just R him, W, and then dash out. So you could literally just use your E ability in this direction, in this certain scenario. Not in this direction, because if I do it like that, he's then either going to kill me or make me low life, so I have to leave, and I still lose the tower in this situation then. So the smart thing to do is, as I said, not dash in this direction, but to dash in this direction. So I have to use my E like that. Then I'm just gonna commit on this one guy that is 0 and 2, because I killed him already on the lane, with my R and my Q and my W, and use my second R to make distance between me and the jungler. So it probably would look something like this. You just E again, use your R, passive, Q, maybe even another passive, and then dash away. Now you might think, well, the jungler is gonna wait here until I dash out. But in most cases, and from my experience, is that if you engage on this dude with like your R and W, this guy will instantly panic and think like, damn, my mid laner is dying again. So he will try to fight you, but he will be too late, because you should have enough damage with 2 and 0, as long as you spend your gold, to kill this guy before he can do anything. Because think like that, imagine you are the jungler, your mid laner is 0 and 2 and he's already tilted. You are ganking him, but your mid laner is still dying, and you escape. His mid laner would probably emotionally break and leave the game, so he has to commit. So if I use RW here, he has to fight with him here, because if he lets him hang, this guy is AFK for sure. You don't even have to kill him really. If he's low enough that he has to go base, you can just wait until the jungler leaves, push the wave and go base, and this wave will crash and he will lose the wave and you get a free base. Another thing that popped into my mind while explaining this is that the second R instance from Akali's ult has a bigger hitbox than it looks like. It has a hitbox behind Akali. So if I do all this stuff here, with like this R and stuff, I can just walk in front of this guy and ult from here, and I will just do damage to him. So you don't have to, like, I don't have to stay behind him and dash through here. I can just walk in front of him and then dash from there, and I will do a little bit more distance to be more safe. The next cool thing I want to show you is that you can actually extend your R with your flash ability, which is not that useful that often, but it's cool and flashy, and it can get handy sometimes, but I might just show it to you. So if I use my R and flash into a direction, I can hit this target and this target while dashing in this direction. So it would look like something like this. You see, I hit this guy and this guy, like both got damage. It also works with the second R, so if I ult on this direction now, I can flash this way and also hit him. If you do it from the right angle, you can even hit all 3 of them with the second R. So if I would, like, for example, dash this way and then walk close to him and then like do like that, and I hit all 3 of them. Just go on the practice tool and try it out, because it's kind of tricky sometimes to get the timing done. And then after you got the combo down, just try to place the dummies however you want and in like realistic scenarios, and try to hit more targets than just 1, or maybe even more than 2, and play around with that a bit. So now I would like to talk about some combos, but to be honest guys, I don't really use a lot of combos when I'm playing Akali. Most of the time I just go with the flow and see what I need in a specific situation, how much damage I need and what abilities could do that damage. Do I need my ult? Do I not need my ult? In the beginning of your Akali journey, it will be kind of hard to estimate what abilities you will need to use to kill someone who's half-life, low-life, or full-life. So that comes with time and practice, obviously. And after that, you don't really need combos. Maybe you need 2 of them that I'm going to show you, obviously. So just try to get comfortable with Akali's abilities, play her a lot, and then you just don't need all the crazy combos that you see on the internet that are way too hard to learn and take you way too much time to learn, and you're never going to use them because you will forget them the second you pick Akali. So just play her a lot, get comfortable, and then you will make your own combos on the fly while fighting or while playing. But I know you're here for some combos, so I'm going to show you some basic ones. The most important combo, guys, that you have to learn, I probably showed you already today, is the Q into auto attack into Q, into auto attack. I know it's crazy and it's an insane combo, but it's important, guys. Use your passive. I really want you to counter the playthrough and learn this combo, because the tricky part is that you will try to have to hit your Q from as far as possible, so you don't have to move as much to get your passive. Like if I hit him from this distance, I have to run around the world like once or twice to get my passive. In best case scenario, you hit it perfectly, that you just have to take one step back. The next insane combo I'm going to show you is the Q auto attack, E auto attack. I know, crazy, but you gotta learn it, guys. That's a pretty good combo if you need to make someone low life, because it's not that hard and doesn't take too much resources, and you can still disengage with your W if he tries to fight back, or you finish him. You use your W and you finish the kill with Ignite. The next one that's also insanely cool is the E into Q into passive, which is a really good combo if you want to kill someone who's low life. In this specific combo, you don't use the first passive attack, because this combo is made to execute someone fast and not for a trade where you want to chunk him. So you use the E, and at this point you know he's dead, you know? You use E, Q, passive, and he's dead. You get your electrocute proc. In this case, I get my Dark Harvest stack, but you would get your electrocute and this guy's gone. So if someone is low life or half life, go with the E, Q, passive, and then electrocute or ignite. Now we come to some real man combos, which are actually a bit longer and fancier, but I show them to you because they're actually useful, not because they're just cool and fancy. This combo works like you press R and E at the same time, as I showed you before. Then you wait until your second R is up, because there's a 2.5 seconds delay on the recast. You wait until it's up, you recast your E, you auto attack, you Q, and you execute him. It sounds long, sounds hard, but it's really not hard. I wait until my R is up, it's up, I recast, and I finish him. That's it. And you saw how I used the bigger hitbox from Akali's second R to dash away, and I still hit him one more time. Waiting till my R is up. Re-engage, passive, Q, and bada boom, bada bam, we are out. Let's act like the damage is not enough, so I do the combo. Do that. And I see he's 2 full life, my execute won't kill him. Then you just use W, maybe another Q, and another passive, and then you execute him. This combo works also pretty good on tower dives. Let me show it to you. Oh, the tower is not shooting. I should activate that. So now the tower is shooting. Sorry for that. You leave. You wait for your R. You go in. And you go out. Like, I got like 2 tower shots. I'm half-life, I know, but that's because I'm level 7 and I don't have any items. Like a probuild, for example, would give me 400 health. If you're not comfortable with this combo, don't do it in the beginning in such early levels. Just wait until you're level 10 or 11 or 12 even, and then go for the tower dives. Or when you're like hyper ahead with like 5 and 0, and you know you can, even if you mess up, you can still tower dive him and get out safe. Let's imagine you don't kill him with all the stuff. Like you do all this stuff, and he's not dead. It doesn't really matter as long as you pulled off the combo, right? Because you learned something now, or you practiced something. So the next combo is also a pretty cool one that you should also learn. It's also a bit more flashy and a bit longer, but I'm showing it to you because it's actually an important combo. So this combo is pretty good to catch people off guard. Let's act like this guy is farming there peacefully, and you know he's in your killing range. Then you can use the combo. It looks hard, but it's actually not if you practice a bit. It goes like this. Then you go out. As you saw, I used my W and my E to secure my way out. So if I do this and then start the combo, and even I mess up, I can just recast it and go base. You really have to be careful because it runs out pretty fast. Like, for example, look at my R1. I use this. I use my R1. Look while my R2 is up and why I can... Now I can execute, and after that I have to instantly E. Like, if your R2 is up, you have to use it and instantly press E. It's like a double cast. Because if you don't, your E is gonna run out and you won't have a safe back out. Obviously, if you have enough damage, like you do this one, and you do this one, and this one, and he's dead, then you don't need the way out because he's dead. Unless a jungler's pulling up, but shit happens, you know. It also works pretty good if you're under tower and trying to farm. This guy's like bullying you and you can't farm in peace because he's a ranged champion. Then you can catch him off guard with that also. You act like you're farming. And then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and this, and this, and this. And you execute him and you're out. And he's like, damn, I died and I couldn't react. Another thing I should mention about this combo is that you don't even need full energy for that. Let's say he has some minions and I'm trying to farm them and I'm running out of energy because Akali is a dogshit champion. Then you can still use your W and R and you will have a lot of energy left for the entire combo to execute it. Because W will give you 100 energy, right? So if you have like 60 energy left, you can still go for the combo. And you will have enough to finish it. We just do the same thing, but under tower. And we are out. Sometimes you don't even need your second R, so I could just do the same thing. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I go back, and he's dead. and you can use the second R to disengage. And that's why I mean with you have to know how much damage you need and how much damage you do with Akali, so you know what dash can I use to disengage and what dash do I have to use to get my damage out. So now let's talk about on what lane you can play Akali, what runes you could go, and what builds are possible on Akali. As most of you probably know, you can play Akali on mid or the top lane, and depending on what you choose, your runes and items will change according to it. If we take a closer look to the runes, there are two main options. The first one is the domination rune page, which is especially good against squishy champions. You would go electrocute, sudden impact, eyeball collection, and ultimate hunter. Nothing special really. And as your secondary rune page, you would take resolve and go with second wind and overgrowth. Second wind is especially important because Akali can struggle a lot in the early laning phase. You could also go with the precision tree as your secondary rune and go presence of mind and last dance, but I would not really recommend that for beginners because it will give you a harder time on the lane and the risk of you getting bullied out of the lane is a bit higher. So if you starting off, I would really suggest you go with the resolve as your secondary rune page. So what do you pick if you should play her on top lane or if you have a more bruiser or tanky matchup on mid lane? Well, then you can go with the precision rune page with Conqueror, presence of mind, haste, and coup de grace or cut down. Coup de grace is better if you think you can kill your enemy laner early, and cut down is the better option if you think you will have a hard time killing your enemy laner. For example, if you lane against a bruiser or tank. And as your secondary rune, I would still recommend that you stick with resolve, going with second wind and overgrowth. So what should you build on Akali? As your starting item, you could go Dark Seal if you're confident in your Akali skills or you have a good matchup like Katarina or Yon for example, then I would recommend going with Dark Seal. But if you're starting off new, I would either go with Doran's Shield, which also helps you with second wind to survive the laning phase, and it gets even more profitable if you have an enemy laner that pokes out like Akshan or Lissandra for example. You could also go with Doran's Ring when you have a safe lane or an even lane and when you think you need a bit more AP on your abilities to get more poke off. Per default, I would recommend going with Doran's Shield because it really helps out a lot, especially if you're new, to survive the laning phase and wait for Akali's power spikes. So what do you buy when you have your first base? The first item you should get if you're laning against a squishy champion on mid lane and you need a lot of burst is Hextech Alternator. This item is really strong, especially in the early game, and most of your opponents won't even know how scary Akali gets after just buying the Hextech Alternator. So I would really recommend going for that if you lane against a squishy champion. And after that, don't finish the item you're going for, go for Soak Boots next, because that is one of Akali's best power spikes in the early game, is getting Alternator and Soak Boots. So what is the first item you buy though after you get your Alternator and Soak Boots? There are two main options you could choose. One of them is Lichbane and the other one is Rocket Belt. If you really want to go all out damage, go with Lichbane, especially when you're snowballing. And if you think you could need a little bit more mobility or health, go with Rocket Belt. But none of them are really terrible, so you can go with both. As your second item, most of the time you will go with Shadow Flame, mainly because of the magic pen you get and the unique passive Shadow Flame gives you, which again increases Akali's burst damage a lot. But there are also cases where you could buy Liandry's as your secondary item. This is the case if you have a lot of high HP enemy champions on your lane or overall in the enemy team. And obviously you could also buy Protobelt or Lichbane depending on what you bought before that. So if you get Lichbane, you could also go with Protobelt next, and if you go Protobelt, you can go with Lichbane next. That's also not a bad option. If the enemy team has a lot of healing, I would maybe skip the second item and go for the Oblivion Orb and then continue building my second item. So analyze your enemy team and try to adapt. So the third item is really flexible. Most people go Zhonya's as their third item because it just synergizes really well with Akali. If you're ahead or you need the late game power spike, you could go with Death Cap. If the enemy is stacking a lot of magic resist, you could go with Void Staff. But if you have a rough time catching up on the enemy ADC or mid laner, you could go with Storm Surge to get the extra movement speed. Or you could even go with Crypto Bloom if the enemy has a little bit of magic resist but not enough to commit into Void Staff. And if you have a lot of team fights, then Crypto Bloom is a pretty good option because it gives you ability haste, which will obviously make you have your abilities up more often so you can join the team fight more often, which will also heal your allies in the team fights, and it will still give you a little bit of magic pen. So as you can see, Akali has a lot of flexibility after her core items, so don't brute force the same items every game. Just analyze your team, the enemy team, and try to find the item that fits the situation to fix a problem. So now you might ask yourself what to build if you play against a tank or a bruiser. You could either go with Riftmaker or Liandry's, but both are also good. You could also buy both of them. Usually Riftmaker is better when you need sustain for longer fights, and Liandry's is better when you need percent damage versus champs that stack max health. But all in all, the items don't really change a lot after those two items. You can still go with Magic Pen or Survivability like Zhonya's, Void Staff, Death Cap or Banshees. Again, you just have to adapt to the enemy team after the first two items and see what will benefit you and your team. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed and I really hope I could teach you something today. even if it's just one thing that you learned today, it's still worth. If you're also an Akali player that think I missed something, just leave it in the comments below, please, so other people can profit out of it and we can spread more knowledge in the Akali community. And if you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my channel for more League of Legends or even for other games. I also do play other games. I would really appreciate a like or even a subscription. And stay safe, guys, and see you next time. Ciao!